Hey everybody, welcome to another episode of the Art of Relationship show. And this is going to be an episode that might tick a little people off, okay? Going to be talking about parenting conflicts, and you're like, how in the hell can that tick people off? Hold on, I'll get into that shortly, okay? So, don't go anywhere. The Art of Relationship show and parenting conflicts, hopefully resolved, will be right after the intro. Don't go anywhere, people. Woohoo! Uh-oh. What happened? Well, I guess there won't be an intro after all. Trying to figure out what the heck happened. So, anyways, the video intro did not work. So anyways, we'll jump right into it, okay? Let me adjust the mic a little bit. There we go. So, as always, you can join in the chat down below, people. Throw your comments, questions out there. It doesn't have anything, doesn't have to do anything to do with the situation at all. Ooh, what is going on? So, the design, hit me up. What is happening? Uh-oh, the overlay went away. So, anyways, let me try to get that back. Anyways, this is the Art of Relationship show, just doing a quick introduction of, excuse me. So, this needs to be able to look at, I'm your host, Greg Dudzinski, as always, and I'm a fully licensed professional counselor in the state of Michigan here in Metro Detroit. And I am going to, where is it? Oh, sorry, people, as I'm trying to look at everything going on. Fully licensed professional counselor, there we go, in Detroit, Michigan. And I want people to understand, I don't know everything, not at all, right? But I've been doing this for 23 years, specializing in couples marriage sex therapy, which a lot of people also don't know is I have a lot of experience with grief and trauma. And the episode today is about parenting conflicts resolved, which a lot of people don't know. A lot of the grief, a lot of the trauma, severe trauma experience I have was also working with kids and teens where, you know, mom would be pimping out 10, 11-year-old daughters, dad shooting mom, that type of situation in front of the kids. So again, it's not a, you know, I'm not getting into right or wrong. I'm not bragging, not at all. That's not what I get into, okay? So I'm just telling you experience. So, you know, looking at, you know, what is happening, what is going on with parenting conflicts, and I hear it all the time, right? One parent is very passive. They don't have any boundaries with the kids. They don't have any, you know, consequences, discipline, those type of manners, and people use the word punishment, right? And I'll get into the difference between, you know, my view of what punishment is, what discipline is in a minute. So I have a lot of experience, you know, dealing with kids and all this. Like I said, it's been a few years that I've worked with kids. I choose not to work with kids any longer. It's been a while. But parenting conflicts come up with couples all the time, right? One is too harsh, one is too permissive. And you look at those type of situations, and we're going to get into, like I said at the very beginning, it gets to the situation where a lot of people will look at that, you know what? We're going to celebrate everything with the kids. And that's when I said about people might be pissed at what I'm going to tell people, right? Should everything be celebrated? You know, everybody talks about, you know, we're going to have, you know, announce we're, you know, pregnant. We're having a baby. Then we're going to announce, have a baby reveal party. Then the baby is born, which is the most important thing, hopefully healthy, right? And then we're going to, oh my God, they graduated from preschool. They graduated from kindergarten. They graduated from elementary school, from middle school. All this stuff going on. And I'm going to give you my 2 cents about, are you celebrating the kids too much? That'll be going on after this, you know, with parenting conflicts. When it comes into, you know, as one parent too permissive. One parent is, too much of a hard ass, if you will. So you can join in the chat down below, people. It doesn't have to deal with parenting or whatever. You can throw your comments, your questions out there regarding dating, relationship, marriage issues, intimacy, challenges, and I'll do the best I can to answer them. Like I said, this is different than professional counseling that I do right where I'm at now in my office because, there's no consent forms. I can't guarantee, being anonymous. I can't do that with social media. So this is not considered professional counseling. So please take that into consideration, but I'll do the best I can to answer to the best of my ability and knowledge. So throw your questions out there, share the chat on the live, share the chat on your timeline page, wherever you're watching or listening from. I appreciate it and try to help as many people out there as possible. Okay. So what's going on? Hit me up, people. Jose, I appreciate you tuning in on TikTok. Lillian, I appreciate you as well. So going back to, when you're arguing, debating about, being permissive, being, having the kid, telling them yes a lot more than no, right? I'm all about certain situations, but let's be honest. We want our kids to have thick skin, to be held accountable, to make sure they have consequences, right? We want them to have a work ethic. A lot of people, and I'm going to bash out there, right, will raise their kids where the kids make the rules. Should never happen. That the kids get their way all the time because I don't want the kid to hate me. I don't want the kid to not like me. I can't handle my kid being mad at me. Oh my God, my world's going to fall apart. And I tell parents all the time, and used to, and I still do now, when parenting challenge comes up in couples counseling, okay? If your kid does not tell you they hate you at least once in their lifetime, you're doing something wrong as a parent. That tells me you might be kissing your kids' booties and you might be raising entitled, spoiled kids that have no accountability, they have no responsibility, and we don't need that in this world anymore. We can look at around, we have people, oh, I can't go to work today because I have a hangnail. The work ethic and accountability, it's like everybody, we're raising soft, unaccountable kids that turn into unaccountable, soft adults. Now, when I say soft, I'm talking about I have the sniffle, I can't go to work today. And I'm not talking COVID, I'm not talking, my allergies are kicking now, right? So we're talking about, accountability where there is work ethic. You fight through stuff, right? You're tired, whatever. Oh, I'm tired. I'm not going to go to work today because I'm tired and my boss needs to understand that. No. So we're talking about when it comes up to, teaching responsibility, work ethic, to have thick skin. But having thick skin does not mean you're raising your kid not to be compassionate, not to have empathy. You get me? And not promoting self-love and self-respect is huge. But that doesn't mean we're raising selfish kids that are unaccountable for their behavior. Because there's a lot of people that will blame everybody else instead of their kid for their behavior, right? That, oh, my little Johnny, my little Sally would never do that. Oh, they couldn't have done that. There's no way. And they did. So that's where I'm talking about accountability when it comes to parenting and looking at those situations about what is happening, what is going on in those situations, okay? And again, this is not a right or wrong, that type of situation, okay? So I want people to be able to look at, how are you holding your kids accountable? Are you teaching responsibility? Are you teaching, I'm broke? I think we're all broke, right? Hey, Bobby, what's happening? So those type of situations, you know what? And a lot of them, oh, I want my kid to be a kid. Yeah, we do too. But that doesn't mean you don't teach your kids to pick up their toys, right? To maybe put their clothes in the hamper. And we're talking age appropriate, right? We're talking you can teach a 2-year-old, a 1-year-old to help clean up. Yes, you can. Definitely a 3-year-old. You can teach them to start picking up stuff. And if they don't, we can teach consequences that they don't get to play with that toy anymore. And a lot of people will, oh, they're little, and they don't teach accountability. And there's teenagers that don't have accountability and responsibility. And, oh, it's whatever my kid wants. And then you're wondering why they keep getting fired from jobs. You keep wondering why there's no accountability. In schools, you are the one where your kid is messing up, you know, maybe having poor, bad, negative behavior, unhealthy behavior in school, and you're blaming the teacher. Are you one of those parents? And we all know there's horrible teachers out there, and there's, you know, terrific teachers out there. We know this. But I'm talking your first aspect is not about going after your kid. Hey, did you do this? Hey, about taking accountability with your kid? It's always blaming the teacher, blaming the school, blaming everybody else except your kid. Now, I'm not about kids or anybody else taking accountability for something we didn't do wrong. That's different. But when your kid messes up, are there consequences for their behaviors, right? Are there discipline measures, grounding, taking stuff away, right? Their phone, ooh, get them where it hurts, right? Computers, if they're a gamer, taking gamers away, grounding, all those aspects where a lot of people will look at, oh, I can't do that because they're worried about their kid being, you know, depressed. And we're talking about severely depressed where suicide is a real issue versus your kid being sad, being mad at you. It's holding accountability and making sure that you are consistent with taking consequences and putting consequences on your kid, right? Taking phones away, TV time, computer time, whatever it is. And we're not talking homework, right? No, we're talking, you know, pleasure time, you know, video games, chatting with their friends, whatever, taking that away. And a lot of people will look at my kid will threaten, they'll manipulate. It's in kids' DNA, right? But a lot of people and the parents will buy into it because they feel guilty. They'll feel, I can't have my kid hate me anymore. And we need to change that. We need to make sure our kids are held accountable. So we have kids that are raised as adults. When they become adults, I mean, my apology, where they will be able to, you know, own what they do. Take responsibility. Yeah, I messed up. I'll take the consequence. Versus, you know, being arrogant, being, you know, having narcissistic tendencies to where, oh, I do nothing wrong and it's everybody else's fault, right? Oh, it's I was, you know, it's my parents' fault because I wasn't given any consequences. No, as an adult, you need to take accountability and take the consequences. Now, going between the difference between discipline and punishment, okay? I tell people I gave parenting, divorce and co-parenting seminars, webinars many years ago as well. The difference between, you know, discipline and punishment, right? Discipline is to teach. You do this, this consequence is going to happen. Punishment is the belittle, demean. It's about control and power. A parent needs to have somewhat power, control over their kids, absolutely. But I'm not talking in an unhealthy manner. There has to be a hierarchy. I'm talking you don't have to belittle, call your kid's name, demoralize them, rip them apart. And that's where punishment is, right? It's about demoralizing, you know, belittling your kid, whatever. Never about that, where discipline is to teach them that there's going to be accountability, right? You break the law, you're going to jail, right? And a lot of people will bail their kids out, right? Oh, my kid doesn't deserve this. They shouldn't have done this. How dare you have a consequence for my kid, right? When you don't even have your kids having consequences, having discipline, having responsibility, and that needs to stop. And that's when I tell people, I'm going to piss a lot of people off out there, right? That you have to correct the unhealthy, negative behaviors out there. And again, It's not easy. I get that. My daughter is 31 now. She probably don't want me to tell anyone's age. I'm old, right? So, and I have a granddaughter now that just turned 2. Woohoo! Right? Awesome. She's great. However, in talking about discipline measures, talking about those type of aspects. Hey, Brandy, what's happening? I appreciate you tuning in. So when it comes into parenting, a lot of people, it comes into, and that guilt is even more so when we talk about, when you've been through a breakup and a divorce and you're co-parenting and you see your kids only on the weekends, 1 day a week, every other weekend. I'm all about seeing the kids as much as possible and allowing that to happen. But that doesn't mean it's a mess that you still don't have boundaries with your new partner, right? With the ex. Not at all. But a lot of people will be in that situation where I feel so guilty, we're divorced, and the effects it has on my kid. Therefore, you know what? I'm going to give my kid whatever they want. I'm never going to have them have consequences. I get the guilt. I get the guilt, the shame, all that aspects, okay? That, I don't want my kid to endure any type of hardship. Remember I said about thick skin? Life has hardships. Life has situations where we don't get our way all the time. We fall on our face. That's what I mean about teaching our kid. Yeah, we can fall on our face. Bad things happen, but how do we handle them, right? And it's not taking those away from them. It's teaching to build resiliency. It's teaching them to fight through challenges, and not that you're going to fight through for them, that you're not going to give them their way all the time. You're not going to kiss their booty all the time, because that's going to raise entitled, spoiled kids that turn into entitled, spoiled adults. And we could get on Who's in the White House now, right, about that. That's a great example about that. So, but we look at, and there's people that are going to disagree with me. I don't care. But, when you look at that, when there's no accountability, we start raising narcissistic, and everyone throws that word out there. I'm talking legitimate, narcissistic, arrogant. It's all about them. And we raise selfish kids. Well, you don't deserve me because I'm all that. They don't do anything wrong. You get me? And part of that is parenting, about not holding their kids accountable. And we could look at, personality. We could look at temperament, biology. We can look at all that as well. But I'm talking outside of those realms about parenting challenges and how do you go after it, right? And there are, everyone talks about parenting books and all this stuff. I'm a realist, right? Probably one of the best books, recommendation is about Parenting with Love and Logic with Klein, Fay and Klein, or Klein and Fay. They actually are great people too. They used to give presentations, speeches on parenting aspects, actually in Metro Detroit for years. I don't know if they still do. They might have passed by now. But again, there's not a one-size-fits-all, but it's about going after what works for your kid. One kid, you could tell them no, and they'll listen. The other kid, you tell them no, and they'll flip you off and whatever, right? And so it's looking at, matching the consequence with the behavior. Not only that, but it's also matching with the personality and temperament, which can be a little more daunting, right? Can be a lot more difficult, I'm honest. You have kids that you can look at them and they'll take care of their stuff, or another kid, you just look at them and they'll, like I said, flip you off and laugh at you, where, personality, temperament, one kid needs their hand held, the other kid, needs, right, needs a foot up their booty. Not literally, people. Don't take that out of context. But, one kid could be bullheaded, stubborn, maybe like you, and the other kid can be more passive, easygoing. So you have to look at, match your parenting aspects with the kid that you're dealing with, with temperament, personality, but you need to have consequences. One kid can be very emotional and cry, and your heart gets ripped out for them, right? You have a bleeding heart. You need to suck up that bleeding heart hey, I know it feels bad. However, you still have a timeout. You still are getting your phone taken away. You get me? So, and everyone talks about safety. I know that with the school aspects, right? And, well, if they don't have the phone and somebody will have a phone, right? So there's a lot of people when they talk about the big concern, and I'm a realist, safety concerns about not having a phone versus what's going on. And we know that, right? I'm old. I grew up, cell phones weren't a thing until I was older teen. I don't even know if it was, maybe a teen, or they come out later. So, hey, Paul, what's going on? What Weekend Warrior, what's happening? So we have to look at, that doesn't mean you have to be a jerk or an ass to your kid, but you can be consistent, and that doesn't mean you belittle your kid. So it's, don't be passive. Don't be authoritarian all the time. The big word, click word for years, authoritative, right? That there's going to be consequences, but you also teach your kid respect. You don't have to belittle, name call your kid. You don't have to bash them, rip them apart. You get me? So there's a big difference between, talking about positive parenting, talking about consequences, but that doesn't mean we have to hold our kid accountable, right? Even looking at sports, right? You get a penalty. Hockey, you're in a penalty box, right? You get fouls in basketball. So many you're taken out of the game. Football, right? You get flags, you get penalties, you get penalized for it. In the workplace, we do something wrong, you might get suspended, you might get fired. It's ways of life, right? And now you're teaching your kid, and they become adults and say they cheat on their wife, they cheat on their husband, and, oh, I only cheated on you. Why do you want to leave? What? There has to be consequences for our behaviors. And we have to do what works, but also still command respect, command dignity for our kids. That doesn't mean we're not going to be upset. I told you, I'm a realtor. I'm not a realtor. I'm a realist. There we go. So that's where I want people to understand and get that balance between, being too passive and you have a bleeding heart, oh, my kid won't hate me. That's not healthy. And being a dick or an ass to your kids, being, a control freak is not healthy for your kids too. So it's sort of, blending those, coming together and being in the middle, holding your kids accountable, but also you don't have to get in a situation where you're yelling, screaming, calling them names. Hell no, not at all. So look at what's in the middle and where you two can come together, okay? And that's where a big element comes in. And now, going back to when I said about, a lot of people now are divorced. Sadly, it might be healthy for them to be divorced. And, you have a kid, and all of a sudden, you're a doormat to your kid, which isn't healthy from a divorce. Now you have step-family dynamics. Oh, boy, right? Talking about parenting. And, you have one parent that raises their kid this way, you're raising your kid that way, and they clash. And with step-family dynamics, it's challenging. It's difficult. I'm not going to lie to you, okay? There's a lot more challenges because you're dealing with exes. You're dealing with how you parented your kids for maybe years and how the other one parented their kids for years, right? But again, come down to, is there consistency? The rules of the house, are they the same, right? And you don't have to belittle, demean a kid. There's a lot of people out there that want to gain control over their step kid. I'm the stepmom, so I'm the woman of the house, so you are going to listen to me no matter what. I'm the man of the house. I'm the stepdad, so I make whatever I say goes. And I'm like, gee, here we go. That's your first mistake, right? I tell the step parents, you need to be like a mentor, like an aunt, like an uncle. You get me? Like a teacher, right? Would you allow your kid to disrespect a teacher? No. Would you allow them to disrespect their aunt, their uncle, their grandma, grandpa? Hell no, right? There's a difference between those type of situations. It's about common courtesy, mutual respect, but also following the rules of the house. I tell people at first, and every step family is different, right? Depending if there is the other parent involved. Maybe someone got married because mom or dad passed away when the child was young, right? Maybe 6 months old. So mom never was around. Dad was never around. So, or dad was never in the picture. They didn't die. Mom was never in the picture. You know, mom was in prison forever. Dad was in prison. So they weren't around. So every step family dynamic is different, okay? But I tell people the step parent needs to be like a mentor, an uncle, aunt, teacher, right? That means most of the discipline needs to come from the biological parent, because I do not want the step parent to be the enemy, right? It's hard enough as it is, okay? That's where I want people to go after it and be a situation to be like that mentor or whatever. That doesn't mean your kid is allowed to disrespect you, right? If you're a stepdad, stepmom, step-parent, that doesn't mean the other kid is allowed to disrespect you, no. However, the discipline needs to come from the biological parent for the most part, okay? And that is where you have to talk about the rules of the home and what is going on. And it's very, just like, you know, a couple having a kid, raising a kid, same thing. You could have one parent that is very passive, lets their kids get away with everything because they feel so guilty not seeing their kid every day. You get me? I get it. Or the other one is very strict and, you know, frickin' rules with an iron fist, right? The authoritarian, if you will, the dictator. And they clash together. And you have to look at what is good, what is healthy for the household, right? Is there an ebb and flow, give and take? And that's why a lot of step families end up maybe not working out, because of a lot of parenting challenges, right? So if you go in being, you know, the new stepfather, stepdad, stepmom, and you rule with the iron fist, they will command, they will listen to me like they're my kid, like I'm their dad, I'm their mom. No, you're not, okay? So that's where I want you to get off your high horse, reduce your own ego and pride, and look at what actually works. What can we do to come together and work together? Now, what are our expectations from even living together, getting married, you know, of how the household, about parenting, about rules of the house, about consequences, and what is going on. So you try to avoid those situations as much as possible. Real life hits. Now, what do you do to work together? As the hierarchy of the home, work together, but you also have to look at, are you able to listen to each other? Hey, I think you're being a little too hard. Hey, I think you're being a little too soft. I get it. I get your heart bleeds. You feel guilty, whatever. Not seeing your kids all the time. I've been there. So it's not easy. But what do you do to work together? Just like any other situation, understanding what each other feels, what each other thinks. Now, okay, what are your ideas? What can we do about it? Okay? So that would be a quick synopsis, if you will, when it comes to parenting, right? What are you doing not to raise your kid, right? Being entitled, being spoiled, no accountability, no discipline, no work ethic. We don't want to raise them anymore. I get that. And there's a lot of I'm going to bash, okay? We could look at early 30s on down. There's some great people in that age category. Awesome, hard workers, dedicated, responsible. Great. But there's too many that are not those things, that don't have a work ethic, that they have very, very thin skin. They can't handle responsibility. If things go wrong or sideways, they don't take accountability. They make excuses, and it's always everybody else's fault. We need to change that, and we need to hold our kids accountable, okay? So I am going to let you go a little early and see what's going on. Okay, again, any questions, check out my website, theartofrelationships.org. I have my course, self-help courses, still $30 off. They're only $47. Cheap, right? I have Healing After an Affair, which I work with on a daily basis. a premarital course, and I have a Reigniting a Relationship course as well. Each course has a bunch of videos, bunch of exercises, strategies, tools that help you out. It's not just a one simple thing. So I put a lot of effort, a lot of time into designing them, making them, and all this, and trying to help as many people out there as possible, okay? So check out that. Like me, follow me at LoveGuruGreg. I appreciate it. Woo! I'm very, very thankful for you out there viewing, watching, spending your time, okay? In this situation, also, if you want to catch all my episodes, the easiest, I tell people, not to bash other social media platform, but the easiest is on YouTube. Check it out at LoveGuruGreg. You can check out all the episodes. I might have probably over 600 videos on YouTube as well. So check it out, like, subscribe, anything I can do to help, reach out, okay? Peace and love to everybody out there.